Again, thank you again for attending PestWest's Discovery into the Art of Dumpsterology. Got trash, get pests. I'm Dr. Stuart Mitchell, resident entomologist for PestWest USA. Again, thank you for your valuable time in coming in and allowing me to host this Discovery in Dumpsterology. Thank you very much. Disclaimer: this presentation is intended for educational purposes only and does not replace independent professional judgment. Again, welcome to Dumpsterology. Notably, in the Q&A, there's a Q&A cache where you can place or type in your questions during the process of the program. We will wait to the end of the program and take as many of those questions as possible, time permitting. And we can certainly accommodate those after the program. Additionally, the program will be recorded and be available for those who are unable to make it, who may have registered, also for you in attending if you'd like to review the program in the future. Again, this is being recorded and will be available in the near future. Again, thank you for attending PestWest Discovery into Dumpsterology. Is your client's trash management a dumpster fire? The Red Queen hypothesis states, now here you see it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. Examples of this are the Red Queen hypothesis being, for example, a parasite provokes a host. A host responds to that provocation through adaptation or evolution, perhaps the immune system. We go further and look at pesticides. Pesticides provoke a pest to respond. That provocation results in adaptation, evolution, in a cyclical sense, to get pesticides to out-compete pests. Additionally, we look at archopestology, look at the architecture under the RQH. Architecture provokes a response in the pest. That provocation results in a response of adapting and evolving quite often in behavior in and around that architecture. Dumpsterology, being a subset of archopestology, will look at specifically and some of the characteristics in and around dumpsters and best dumpster practices. Archopestology and dumpsterology. APNs, they're legion. They're numerous. Attractive pestiferous nuisances are high-end, rich resource sites for reproduction and consumption, nutrition, and these particular sites exist almost all the time. If you do your inspection, conduct inspections thoroughly, your sensory inputs, your organoleptic, if you will, types of inspections using your senses, these become quite evident as you go through in and around a facility. APNs, attractive pestiferous nuisances. Again, very rich resource sites for reproduction and nutrition, and are very evident quite often in and around many facilities, and need to be eliminated quite often and result from behavioral type, or I should say misbehavioral type applications. Falls under the integrated pest management template of controls, that being behavioral or cultural control, elimination of those APNs. Those APNs bring in pests, in particular this one. What am I? I'm very small, weigh very little, fly about 4.5 to 15 miles an hour, most active 2 to 4 p.m., live about 60 days, disperse 65 feet to 27 miles, see with mosaic vision, hear and feel with bodily hairs, taste with my feet, communicate with pheromones, and locate malodorous, disgusting dumpsters with my antennae. I am the ultimate dumpster diver. What am I? A housefly. Regardless of what you do, I'll see you inside. When a housefly's legs are stimulated upon landing, an appetitive food source will result in the mouth parts extending for consumption, whereas conversely, contact with a aversive surface or a less than acceptable surface inhibits extension of the mouth parts, stimulation or inhibition of the mouth parts, interestingly. So appetitive site, appetitive food source. A dumpster is an appetitive food source. Very rich resource site for reproduction and nutrition. Dumpsters. We know insects are poikilothermic. They respond to external heat sources. They do not undergo their own internal milieu, if you were, of metabolism. They rely on external heat sources, although some insects can produce some body heat in their wing box through locomotion. But interestingly, insects rely on those external heat sources. Again, relying on that heat source to activate cellular mitochondria. Mitochondria meaning thread or granular-like. Get that mitochondrial cristae going, that electron transport, metabolism from ADP to ATP, and initiating that Krebs cycle for metabolism, requiring oxygen, final electron receptor and electron transport chain, allowing the continuation of the ATP cycle, you will, that requiring glucose, as we all do, ultimately, which provides energy in optimal amounts for cellular use. ATP stores less energy, but releases it in the right amounts at the right times for cellular tasks. Cells being utilizing up to 10 million ATPs per second. So just think of that. Your cells are using at least 10 million ATPs per second. External digestion. Flies digest from the exterior, starting there by expressing saliva, which is rich in enzymes, smearing it over the surface, and extracting that through a capillary action in their pseudoesophagus or extended mouth parts. As we saw for those appetitive sites, they start to feed. Filth flies can consume 1.5 to 2.3 times their body mass through that cyclic regurgitation. Food residues and dumpsters will attract pests. Interesting study for these holometabolists, these complete metamorphic type species, that strategy among flies collected from dumpsters, about 47% were house flies, about 33% below flies. So that order of succession to the dumpster, leading the charge, housefly. Interestingly, as always, flies, overall, the prevalence of foodborne pathogens 3 times greater in the guts than on the body surface. So essentially, both mechanical and biological vectors of pathogens. Population ecology. If we study the ecology of various types of vertebrates and invertebrates, there's a strategy. In ecology, the R strategists and the K strategists. The K strategists being parental care, late productive maturity, adaptation to stable environments, longer nurturization, whereas the R strategists are more chaotic, lacking parental care, shorter lifespan, and adapted more to unpredictable environments like dumpsters. In particular, flies and dumpsters are strategists for you ecology buffs. Houseflies are morphologically, physiologically, and behaviorally suited to serve as disease vectors. From a fly's plate to your plate, houseflies study showed houseflies could rapidly contaminate with E. coli within minutes. So powerful potential moving filth to food. As an example, under a survey from AIB for FD violations and Form 483s, which is a notice of inspection observations, under objectionable practices, sanitation, big surprise, 21.5% of the objectionable practices, but pest control, 20.9%. Lots of opportunity for pest management professionals in food safety. No food, no pests. That's the goal. Got stink? Get pests. Got spills? Get pests. Got open? Get pests. Got leaks? Get pests. Got close? Get pests. And with that, let's look a little closer at this image. If we could do everything wrong to attract pests, it's exemplified here. Evidentiary shows, indicates, demonstrates we have a yellow building. It's highly attractive. Now we illuminate it with blue light at night, highly attractive. All sorts of utilities coming onto the building, highly attractive. We have an open door when it shouldn't be open, or at least a screen in place. No screen, door open. We have dumpsters of various sizes, which are overflowing. Poor dumpsterology here. Misunderstood, misapplied. No dumpster best practices exist here. And then let's just paint the dumpsters blue to attract flying insects. If we can do it wrong, it's pretty much wrong here. Got close, get pests.
Here's a really bad situation. This is a food establishment. We won't tell you where, but you can see that they're asking for trouble. Fly trouble. Not only do they have open doors that lead to the food preparation area, but they also have trash cans right outside those open doors. And to make matters worse, there's a lot of standing water around the trash cans. You probably remember the triangle of life from past PCBN programs. This simple little graphic outlines what pests need to survive: food, water, and shelter. All three needs are very handily addressed in this situation. Talk about an open invitation to flies.
Got open, get pests. So why do we leave the door open? Sort of essential type of understanding one should have in concluding, going through inspection portion of integrated pest management, inspection investigation. Why is this door open when it shouldn't be? Or at least why is there no screen in place? We can address these types of questions through RCA, or root cause analysis. 5 whys of causation. This can be applied to a number of situations or situationally. We just ask a series of questions and ultimately arrive at the root cause, and then control the root cause and measure that control. Why is the door a pest problem? Requires weather stripping. Why is weather stripping required? Because the door is warped. Why is the door warped? Employees prop it open. Why? To go out and smoke. Why? Because they can get away with it. And as a result, we have an open door and perhaps a no open door policy, which is a perfect opportunity for pests. Got open, get pests. Close the door. That's, of course, once we know the root cause, going out to smoke because we can get away with it. The solution would be door sensors. Of course, door sensors being the control and measuring the control, because they would be remote sensing devices, which would give us real-time data to can assess for that door. If it's necessary to be open, how long it is open, perhaps isolate why it is open, and whether or not it's open at all. To, in other words, to arrest and eliminate that particular problem, and then monitor the control. Door sensor through push notification. Interestingly and regrettably, got random, get pests. Unfortunately, dumpsters that are misplaced or placed in bad areas, in more remote areas where they shouldn't be, can be an APN for another reason. Could certainly be an attractive pestiferous nuisance, but they can also be an attractive homicide facilitation. We see more and more, regrettably, that these become disposal areas for crime scenes, and as a result, can be investigated and will be investigated, potential crime scenes, just to be aware of that potential when you're in and around facilities, conducting your inspections and best practices with services. Be aware that dumpsters are now quite often, regrettably, crime scenes. So got random, get pests. Got weeds, get pests. Aha, let's put the dumpster right in a weed patch. That's great. Why don't we just attract everything in and around? We saw one example of the archopestiological failures or mispractices earlier. We can add to that by putting dumpsters in and around weed lines and high vegetation, which again just compounds the rich resource site for reproduction and nutrition. So, got trash, get number one pest attractant. So how do we deal with trash? We have to understand dumpsterology to apply trashology and apply those best practices to be dumpsterologists, practice dumpsterology appropriately to reduce pest pressures and improve sanitation. Dumpster divers, all sorts of dumpster divers on 2 legs, 4, 6, 8, and so on. Be careful when you approach dumpsters. Practice safety, because these all are potential exposure sites as well, both abiotically and biotically, physical, random energy exposures, as well as organisms. So dumpster diver, who me? Urban wildlife, quite often in a dumpster, birds, other pests, stinging insects, biting insects. So be careful in applying your dumpsterology best practices. When you approach dumpsters, exhibit caution, practice caution, because these can be hazardous areas, and just be aware of that. Dumpster divers. No reproductive sites, no pests. Daily inspections and cleanup. Let's talk a little bit about this. What goes in the front will eventually come out the back, and how that process goes between front and back is essential to understand. Food flow versus trash flow. These should never intersect, but run in parallel. And the waste flow should be properly handled and have sufficient capacity to handle that waste flow. Trash really should be studied, perhaps. And certainly as pest management professionals, dumpsterologists, we can assist in this. Trash should be studied because lots of waste may exist and what's being thrown away, maybe not properly bagged or enclosed or handled, and result in spills, which is poor organizational cleaning, which we'll look at. Daily inspections are essential. You should document these on your inspection reports, starting from fence line to elevation, every structure and everywhere in between. It's your responsibility to understand what's going on in and around a facility through area-wide inspections and assessment. One of those, Doris, when we get inside, is the ingredient or food flow, supply flow. What's going on there? How's it being handled? Is it being handled efficiently? What are the losses? Quite often the margins in, say, restaurants and other food service facilities, purveyors, that margin's pretty low. So understanding these processes is essential. One of those is OC, or organizational cleaning. Also look at RC, or resource cleaning, in a little while. If you have lots of spills or see lots of spills, typically it's poor organizational cleaning. Need to control those spills through proper product handling, when those are first in, first out, or FIFO, last in, first out, or LIFO. And of course, first to expire, first out, which is the most significant, because expiration dates on products, whether they are food ingredients, food products, food containers, food service support materials, whatever that may be, many things have expiration dates, and those should not be exceeded, because that will not go well in a third-party audit. Control spills through organizational cleaning, rotation, first in, first out, last in, first out, and first to expire, first out. Nothing is more effective at limiting fly infestation than sanitation. Of course, weekly campus inspection and cleanup, feces, dung, whatever it happens to be. We have migratory wildlife. We have urban wildlife that could be pestiferous, birds, and other organisms that may habituate as part of their niche, movement or ambulation in and around these facilities. And of course, these scats, urine, and all sorts of things, carrion or carcasses, can result, and these should be assessed in the inspections. One of the great tools that's coming out now are drones, aerial inspections, and even applications using drones. Certainly an opportunity there in rooftop pest control and area-wide inspection, and pest control using drone technology. But weekly campus inspections for fecal material, dung, fallen fruit, nuts. There are requirements or regulations quite often on campuses on what can be there and what shouldn't be, in particular fruiting trees or trees that bear nuts, or other types of fruiting bodies of vegetation. should be eliminated or eliminated in many types of facilities. So studying the vegetation, arboreal all the way to the grass line, what is going on there, what's the vegetation, how does it encroach the building, what is the archopestology as a function of the ornamental and turf, because that can be significant to pest attraction. Weekly campus inspection are what's going on after mowing and lawn maintenance, landscaping maintenance. Where's the waste go? That should be taken off site and not piled. For example, here we have a particular location where we have piles of grass, which becomes compost, becomes very supportive, a biological source for, say, stomoxys or stable flies, those blood feeders, annoying blood feeders, or even in some cases, face flies, house flies, other types of flies certainly be attractive to other pests. So again, weekly campus inspections and cleanups, looking for significant pest attraction, in particular food waste, fast food waste, which is thrown out of vehicles while moving or illegally placed in areas, becomes certainly an eyesore, but also a significant attractive pestiferous nuisance, or APN. Litter, of course, that's an ongoing problem, but litter in and around the facility should be eliminated. Interestingly, plastic and metal make up much of the litter mass, and can be not only rich resource sites as a function of nutrition, but also reproduction. For example, mosquitoes and other types of pests. Interestingly, tree holes should be part of the weekly campus inspection and cleanup in and around dumpster areas and the campus. These have become a popular area where you have poor arboriculture, where the arboriculture is mismanaged and these tree holes develop and are not attended to properly. And as a result, they end up as garbage receptacles. And of course, as we would suggest further on, an attractive pestiferous nuisance, tree holes. Look at poor waste management. It's really evident here if we look at an overflowing dumpster and overflowing recycle. So we have misservice or misapplication dumpsterology not being practiced here. The waste process, recycle process, is poorly studied and poorly handled. And as a result, we end up with spills and resource sites, appetitive resource sites for pests. Excellent way to not only monitor, but to control flying insects in and around dumpsters, in particular indoor dumpster areas such as chutes, compactors, and dumpsters. Deploy EFK systems. These are electronic fly killers. They have a stun grid. They're not bug zappers. They have a high voltage, low amperage apparatus attracted to rich UVA light source, stunned by the electrical grid, undergo a neural infarction, actually destroys their neurological system, incapacitates them, and drops them into a capture tray, which is a damper on it to resist air circulation around it, knocking dead flies out of it. Excellent assessment source. Here we have an electronic fly killer. Quantum X LED filament technology from PestWest. Introducing the Mantis Qualis with the Quantum X filament LED technology that is equivalent to FUVA, the fluorescent UVA, in efficacy of attraction and capture, as demonstrated third-party testing, through replicate testing, 91% effective at clearing, culling, free-ranging houseflies. Houseflies together, very excellent results. And again, if not exceeding, comparative to, but not exceeding the efficacy of attraction at external stimulation of fluorescent. Quantum X filament LED technology available now. 6,000 Qualis Quantum X systems deployed in the field, and now introducing for front of the house Mantis Cirrus with Quantum LED. Source, you want your sources of LED to be rich sources and actual LED. UVA, whether it's fluorescent or LED, you want to be sure that your UVA emissions are calibrated, particularly with third-party audits. Very attractive information and data to maintain through trapline audits. Calibrated UVA through UVA measurement devices. Dumpsterology, take a closer look. Medium to large restaurant would require a 6 cubic yard dumpster, which is 1,200 pounds or so of trash load. For example, perhaps 40, 30-gallon trash bags. That trash flow would have to be actually exceeded by the dumpster provider, should be studied. That waste flow should be studied and quantified for a proper application of dumpster storage and eliminating the trash, getting it off site as quickly as possible. Got stink? Got pests. You know that malodors to us are attractive odors to flies, whether it's fermentation, putrefaction. These gases are produced, these food molecules are produced, these waste molecules are produced and attractive to flies in particular, to funiculus or fly nose. We know that through conducting electroantenniograms. Electroantenniograms measure what a fly reacts to as a sense of smell. We also use those, of course, electroretinograms to know what a fly is attracted to external stimulus, that being UVA light. Be sure no sticky dumpsters at entryways. They should be upwind of structures to prevent those fetid dumpster emissions at entryways. Doors, windows, and vents, particularly for house flies, a 20-inch screen with 20 openings per linear inch. Focus on those cracks, no cracks, crevices, or gaps greater than a quarter inch, 6 millimeters. That's sort of the magic number. Interestingly, this is one of the biggest violation in third-party audits. Cracks, crevices, and gaps, in particular between dissimilar substrates. So these should be examined not only on elevations, but all rooftops, horizontal surfaces, all should be assessed for cracks, crevices, and gaps. No dumpster. The dumpster provider, a reputable dumpster provider, no overpromise, underdeliver, quite often happens with dumpsters when they're not properly assessed. Best dumpster practices not applied, lack of dumpsterology. Need to have expert advice available for dumpster providers, as much as for your customers, customer service and support, trash handling best practices, and of course, site recommendations. Very important on where that dumpster is placed. We need to have that dumpster at the correct size. Certainly we need the appropriate number, a correct number of dumpsters. They need to be working order or serviceable and properly cleaned, which we'll look at briefly in a moment. Dumpster provider should be able to either replace the dumpster or conduct on-site repairs so that the covers work properly and it's not leaking. In particular, no rust. Rust on a dumpster is basically no dumpster because effluents, you're going to have gray water, even black water in some cases, resulting from that fermentation, putrefaction that spreads over a surface, oxidizes, becomes very attractive to pests, extremely malodorous on hot, humid days. So no rust on dumpsters dumpsters should be assessed for serviceability. You want to place hazardous wastes in dumpsters. It's a violation of, quite often, federal code, state code, whatever the codification might be. There may be a violation, so don't place hazardous wastes in dumpsters, in particular for your fluorescent lamps or LED lamps that are concluded in their operational life, and you're looking to dispose of those properly. We have a Mad Hatter lamp recycling program. Mad Hatter, we send you a box with a label. You fill the box, put the label on the box, send it back to us. And that is certainly available. Fill it, seal it, send it. Mad Hatter lamp recycling program, not only for your fluorescent overhead lighting, you can be assisted with that in addition to the UVA lamps that you want to properly dispose of. You can certainly assist customers if they're relamping or converting to LED. A lot of that going on right now in the overhead lighting realm, and you could be assistive at eliminating those or properly disposing of those overhead lighting fluorescent UVA lamps for your customers using Mad Hatter. Again, fill it, seal it, send it, Mad Hatter. No fog in the dumpsters, no fat soils or greases. Certainly contract with a grease trap service provider, whatever that entity means to be. You don't want to throw fat oils or grease waste into dumpsters. Immediately become a potent attractive source. Oxidized will throw up malodors, food scents, food molecules, very attractive to birds, vertebrate wildlife, of course, rodents, urban wildlife, and insect pests. No fog in dumpsters. Have a service to provide that, even if it's a temporary holding vault, maybe a mobile holding vault, making sure those are in good repair as well. No recycle materials in dumpsters. Recycle goes with recycle. Trash goes in dumpsters and trash receptacles. You can have this, or you can have this. APNs. This application, Dumpsterology, no application of Dumpsterology, resulting trash nightmare or trashology, completely misunderstood, mispracticed. So we need to have proper pickup. So not only are the proper dumpsters in place, serviceability, but collection frequency can vary by route, truck capability, type of dumpster, and food waste rate. So these should all be reconciled to the facility to make sure that there is a match on collection frequency and dumpster serviceability. Dumpster best practices. Let's look at some DBPs. Dumpster provider empties dumpsters frequently. Minimize is stinky or fetidly that attracts insects, rodents, and birds, wildlife. Dumpster divers. In the summer, warm climates, warm, humid climates, these dumpsters become cooking devices, become big cooking devices. And so the trash contents can literally solarize and begin to cook. And of course, when we heat it up, it becomes even more odorous or malodorous. And so in the summer, collection rate should be at least 2 times a week. The dumpsters should be a minimum of 15 meters or about 50 feet from structures to keep pests or pest attractive site away from the structure primary functioning facility. Be sure dumpsters are secure from employee sabotage and dumpster divers. Locked lids, very important to have that lid inaccessible to unauthorized parties that may illicitly use the dumpster facility. So locked lids, very important. Of course, many dumpsters require placarding by code. The placard has to state certain amounts of information regarding the parking, no hazardous waste, which we looked at, perhaps caution, warning, or danger expressions or signaling. Of course, no public dumping. And then if there's a code for penalty of illegal dumping into a private dumpster, that could be noted as well. Good example of a placard on a dumpster here. Look at this, serviceable condition, lid closed and secure, no trash spills, no leaks, the wheels work. The sort of utopian type dumpster, that's our goal. Underground dumpsters, very popular. These eco-friendly dumpsters where we have a bladder underground and a trash chute for access. The trash chute allows access to this bladder for garbage waste, rubbish, and other types of materials. This prevents, at least to some degree, the unsightliness of dumpsters. It also reduces or eliminates malodors or odorants that coming off of trash that is undergoing putrefaction or reduction. And these bladders can be reduced by large, or eliminated, excuse me, these bladders can be emptied by large trucks. The base plate pivots or comes off. The trash bladder is picked and emptied into a large collector on a truck and then placed back in service. Again, eco-friendly dumpsters, underground dumpsters. Dumpster enclosure. Sure, dumpster enclosure conforms to all health and building codes, non-absorbent concrete or asphalt, and there's slope to drain. Important, interestingly, are the bump posts. They need to be painted in OSHA yellow, and these bump posts prevent damage to the dumpster corral. Very important, and they give signal to the dumpster provider to drop off the dumpster properly and properly space it. But importantly, they protect not only the dumpster, but they protect the dumpster corral or enclosure. Dumpsterology, dumpster enclosure, again, about 15 meters or 50 feet from the building, should have bump posts to protect the enclosure and the dumpster. Should have an opening, either a single door opening or a dual louver door opening to protect that dumpster and seclude that dumpster. So here we have an appropriate placement of a dumpster. And of course, we flank it with rodent control, label or rodent control. This could be remote sensing devices, cameras, accelerometers, various types of sensors, infrared. There could be traps, could be census bait, whatever type methodology or label and methodology is being applied. But it's important to conduct census of these dumpster areas for activity. Also fly control, using, for example, our Titan 200 IP, which is an electronic fly killer, which can be deployed out of doors. So proper flanking and monitoring and assessment, control in and around dumpsters of pests. Of course, monitoring those areas with cameras, aerial cameras, quite often are in place to monitor for criminal activity, illegal dumping, dumpster divers, and urban wildlife, along with remote sensing cameras, remote sensing world, the Internet of Things. Remote sensing is becoming very, very popular and an application of everyday processes, best practices. And we assess for these organisms. We see here rats, so we can get a good picture, particularly at night, a nocturnal picture of what's going on as far as pest activity or pestiferity. Trash handling, very important. Roll carts, if they're a temporary hold, whether they're residential or commercial, should be free of organic buildup and routinely cleaned. They should be maintained just like dumpsters. Roll carts. Mandatory trash bag use, of course, not just any old trash bag, but trash bags that are the correct size for the receptacle. Use heavy duty trash bags, in particular 6 mil minimum, that are puncture and tear resistant to eliminate those spills. Trash bags not dragged and thrown, not launched at the dumpster and explode all over it and around it, and we have spills. Again, this goes back to organizational cleaning as much as handling the new materials. You want to handle the waste materials properly to eliminate spills. No overflowing, whether indoors or out. Double bag heavy wet trash. We have trash that's particularly wet, increases the mass considerably. So they should be, this types of material should be double bagged, appropriate trash bags. We can use beneficial bacteria, bioremediation through resource cleaning, We use beneficial bacteria, which reproduce through binary fission or conjugation. And as a result, we can apply beneficial bacteria to our cleaning these trash containers, whether they're roll carts or dumpsters, making it part of an ongoing and routine resource cleaning program.
Dumpster Guard digests organic matter, eliminates malodors, and is non-pathogenic and non-polluting. Bio-enhanced for superior organic degradation. Exceptional cleaning capabilities. No harsh chemicals and solvent-free. Keeps customers and neighbors happy.
Thank you, Dr. PestWest, Professor PestWest, for this contribution. Dumpster Guard, excellent application of resource cleaning from malodor reduction, elimination, and eliminating those fermentation and putrefaction sites in and around dumpsters. Can be applied liberally in and around dumpsters, in the dumpster, outside the dumpster corral, dumpster surface, liberally applied, neat or right out of the container, ready to use, with an inexpensive applicator dedicated to Dumpster Guard, or using something bacteria, beneficial bacteria, soil-based bacilli, to eliminate and reduce these rich resource sites. Bacteria meaning rod-shaped, work best, of course, at our own body pH. Excellent decomposers, double in about every 20 minutes, leaving behind metabolic waste such as CO2 and water. Resource cleaning. We have available for you a resource cleaning guide to get you started. Best practices for resource cleaning, particularly the dumpster refuse areas noted here on the exterior, an inspection in and around a facility, an application of resource cleaning, entire resource cleaning program to get you started in your program. Resource cleaning, organizational cleaning. Dumpster Guard, excellent for bird droppings. Bird droppings become significant in and around dumpsters, particularly if dumpsters are not well maintained. So Dumpster Guard can be a respite or reduction for bird droppings. Client training.
Poor sanitation can be a major attractant to many kinds of flies, including filth flies. Now, although those sanitation concerns will vary depending upon the situation, one of the challenges for the pest management professional is to train their clients about what proper sanitation consists of and why it's so important. It's a good idea to check the trash cans and trash facilities around the structure you're trying to protect. Flies love refuse and trash, and that means that many times you may find the source of your fly problems to be in areas such as these.
Well, basically what we have here is a dumpster, not a place where you want to hang out or be caught at when they haul you off, but this is an important part of pest management. As we know, these containers should not be up close to the food facility. They should be at some distance from the facility to keep flies away and cut down on that migration back into the facility as the doors open and close. And we want to make sure, as the label says down here, keep lids closed. We've got the lids closed here. There is a little bit of space here. The flies will find this opening here and come in and out of those areas. It says don't park motor vehicles here in front of this thing, because you're going to get some problems if you do. There's going to mash your vehicle when they come in here to dump this thing. These containers, as you can tell, get a lot of abuse. They're made out of hard metal, and yet they will rust out and break up. And as they do, you will get the oozing goos that comes out the bottom. That's where you're going to have your fly production problems, associated with the gunk in the bottom and the moisture, the runoff here. So wherever this runs to, and if it's in a crack in the cement or in a joint between various pieces of cement where you get organic material build up and it's moist, you're going to have fly production problems, just like you will in this area. So in these kinds of situations, you're going to want to use a product that's going to hold up well. One of them that I found works real well is a microencapsulated kind of a product. There's a number of them on the market, and they will help provide you with long-term residual, knock down those flies, keep the populations at a minimum. You can also do trapping around these kinds of areas. You can do some decoy trapping. draw the flies away from these areas. You can do some baiting with various types of baits to knock down the fly populations in these areas. A combination of tactics is usually needed, and of course you have to go back to the basics too. You can't leave the dumpster open. You got one dumpster here open, one dumpster closed. You've got some stuff in bags here, but you've also got bags that are open. And so when your bags are open, the flies can get in and out, and that's going to be a heyday as the moisture is there, and as the temperature warms up, we're going to have lots of fly problems in this kind of an area.
The Ooze and Goose, a review for you, review and overview by our own Dr. Ted Gronowski. So we need to conduct routine assessments of trash handling procedures to make corrective actions. Disinsection with less intoxication. And again, I want to thank Dr. Ted Gronowski, nearly a 60-year practitioner of pest management science, huge contributor to the industry, and a longtime friend and advisor to PestWest. Special thanks, Dr. Ted. We all despise pesky flies, but there is trash is cash. With that, I want to thank you for attending the Art of Dumpsterology, the application of Dumpsterology under archopestology, and a practice of good trashology. So with that, we'll take some questions. Stop sharing here. Some questions in the QA. If there are any, or if you have any questions, please put them in the QA cache, and we are happy to take those questions, or if we have a few minutes left. Again, I want to thank you for attending PestWest's webinar, Discovery on the Art of Dumpsterology. Now, Dumpsterologist. Wait a couple moments for questions. If anybody has a question, be sure and put it into the Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. We have a question. How does one get the Mad Hatter boxes? You can contact PestWest directly. Also, I believe, although I'd have to verify this, I believe you can also obtain Mad Hatter through your favorite distributor, but you can also contact PestWest directly to determine the availability of the Mad Hatter boxes. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you again for attending PestWest webinar on Dumpsterology, the art of trashology. And we appreciate certainly your attention and time this morning and your business. See, we have another question. Does the Red Queen hypothesis suggest that architecture can provoke a response in pests? Interview, yes, that is correct. That is true. Red Queen hypothesis does suggest that architecture can provoke a response by pests. Still have a couple minutes remaining before we wrap up. Happy to take any other questions that you may have. We certainly are available. You can email me at any time. I'm happy to help at doc.mitchell@pestwest.com. Again, doc.mitchell@pestwest.com, doc.mitchell@pestwest.com. Happy to help you at any time. And we appreciate your time. We appreciate your business. Another question, what was the percentage of flies, house flies captured around the dumpster? What was that percentage? About percentage was greater than 40% in that particular study. Leading the way next with blowflies and bottle flies. Guideline for best practices, dumpsters should be 15 meters or 50 feet from the building. This program will be recorded, or is being recorded, and will be available, I should say, in the near future for your review for you, and for any of those that registered that were unable to attend. Give it another minute here. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and put your questions into the Q&A, and we're happy to address those. Again, if you happen to think of a question after this program, feel free to email me at .mitchell@pestwest.com.